Welcome to the May 5th, 2022 Helm Developer Call. Happy to Cinco de Mayo all. And I hope that everyone had a good May the 4th be with you yesterday. So we have a few announcements today. I'll start with Mr. Farina. I know you have a few things you want to tell us about.
Sure. The first one is Andrew, who's on the call today, is the new Helm core maintainer, full Helm maintainer to help us work on all of the things. So welcome and congratulations. And I look forward to you doing a lot more work for us. Yay.
Yay, more work for me to do. Yay. No, I'm excited. Thanks a lot for not only just being able to work with the community over the last, while, but also be able to continue to move the ball forward on the project.
Great.
Super awesome. Thank you. And then what else do you have for us, Farina?
The second thing is we delayed the release of Helm 3.9 to account for Kubernetes 124's delayed release. And so we're shooting for a release candidate next Monday with the final release on May 18th. This, of course, will be dependent on us getting the Kubernetes 124 packages we use merged and everything getting good. So we are working on that right now. In fact, that's one of the discussion topics. And so that's all I have.
All right. Awesome. I will actually roll us. We have some other KubeCon stuff to talk about possibly towards the end of the call, but let's roll us right into that discussion topic. Factory : what?
All right. So the technical side, and there's a pull request here, is Kubernetes changed their factory, kubectl changed their factory interface because they don't follow semantic versioning with their minor versions. They went ahead and changed that interface. And that's created problems for us because we have a shallow copy of it in our code. And so that means our interface, which of course we don't make breaking changes on, then needs to break. So how do we handle it? Where does this fall? Our backwards compatibility documentation doesn't say anything about this particular case. Neither do any code comments. And I think this is the first time we've actually hit this in recent memory. But that's just one of those things that we now have to deal with. And so I've been trying to track down context on what's going on here. Like, why do we have a copy of their interface when we actually import the package that has it? And so trying to just chase down some of that. So no matter what we do, there will be a break here. But our policy had been, and it was undocumented and it hadn't happened in so long we hadn't thought about it, is that because Kubernetes client libraries and all of that can change, and since we do expose one of it, particularly the factory, we couldn't get away from it, that this is actually a place in the code where things could change. And so we need to document that all over the place. And so the question becomes, what is the right way to do this? And so it's one of those places where we're going to have to change something. I'm reading real quick my notes on this. Yeah.
If we're going to have a break anyway, is there a better path to give us less breaks in the future? Or is it like, these are both bad, just pick one? Like, is there an optimal break?
Is there an optimal break? I don't know. All situations seem to be non-optimal. We can either switch over to their interface, but our interface still needs to stay in the code, in which case it becomes dead code. And that's a problem. So we really do need to keep our interface around. Otherwise it becomes dead code and we got to rip it out. And then that's backwards compatibility breaking in a weird way. I would say in Helm version 4, we probably try to go towards their interface if that's possible. And we just update ours accordingly. That's probably the best path forward. There's some context, like this was an intentional decision, but the people who made that intentional decision happen to be out of office this week. And so I can't track them down to get what's in their head right now. I tried, but I can't track them down. And so my best path forward, unless there's disagreement, is just to update our interface. And then after that pull request goes in, I'll do a pull request to add comments there and a pull request to update our backward compatibility stuff. So that way we call out kube client related things and what we can do here in the future. What do folks think about that? Crickets. Does anybody disagree? We'll do lazy consensus here.
I need to think more about it to really feel like I'm contributing much. The way you presented it sounds that sounds great. And I'm with you. I guess I just
Yeah.
When I hear you saying for Helm 4, we should, then I kind of find myself wondering, maybe if we can avoid duplicating, or if we can avoid going too far down a different path that's not the one we want to go down, and just kind of shore up the stuff that we don't want to keep maintaining, but maybe not spend a ton of time on it.
We won't
I
have
don't
to
know if
spend a
that's
ton of time
possible.
on maintaining it. It's actually pretty simple, and the pull request already does the work. So there's the only thing that I would contribute to it is code comments for future people.
Yeah, maybe a docs update if necessary.
Yeah, there might be something in there. Yeah, well, there isn't to update the one hip that would need to be updated. So, okay.
And it sounds like this is all a blocker to getting 1.24 compatibility.
Yeah, as long as we're okay doing this and documenting it, then the pull request can go through as is.
I mean,
And so,
it seems like we don't have a choice.
No.
We would love to have no breaks, and this is a situation that we can't choose to have no breaks.
Yeah, and that's because it's a Kubernetes break, and we just end up surfacing the Kubernetes break, and that ultimately becomes the problem.
I guess
So
that goes in the release notes.
Yeah, my only thought is about our Kubernetes version support policy. Are we basically yeah.
So what you end up with is talking to Kubernetes APIs, there won't be a problem. Mixing and matching Kubernetes packages with Helm, that also shouldn't be a problem, because Helm would always use the newer one that it's matched with, so it would. And so you technically should not have a problem, because Go can handle multiple versions of the same module. And your code, if you tried in your own code to use a different version of kubectl stuff, would just, even today, have had 2 versions of those libraries in your code. And so there wouldn't be a change there. And by the way,
Yeah.
this doesn't surface too much in external code, because most people in their own API usage aren't using the factory. They're using something else that's built on top of something else that's built on top of it. And so this is pretty low level stuff for us, where the change is. And so I would expect the service area to be pretty minimal, but we should document it in the release notes and everything.
I think the lazy consensus has it. I don't hear any screams
Great.
on the call.
And there's more items. And so I am happy. And I think Butcher, who I chatted with this about, is okay with this. So I'll see if I can get him to do the second approval on it, because he's more comfortable with that code anyway. I think we can move on to the next thing.
Awesome. Thank you. Karen, you want to talk a little bit about KubeCon EU?
Yeah, sorry, where did I put my notes? Okay, I don't remember where my notes are. Anyway, it's happening in 2 weeks, and just another refresher, we will have a on-site project booth. I believe I listed the link to the booth hours that we need staffing for. So basically, we just have the second half of each day that we need to staff. It's not a whole day affair. And we will be, the booth, the project pavilion is in the sponsor hall in the back left corner. And yeah, if you will be there, please help sign up and help staff the booth. I will be running around with the other projects as well, but I should be in the general area. But again, if you have the time and place, please help staff our booth. The Helm maintainer track actually takes place first before any of our staffing happens. So I was going to ask the speakers to maybe point people to the project booth after the talk. And then we also have the virtual office hour. I think we have it in the notes somewhere further down when it
I
is.
put it in the notes.
Yeah, I think it's on Thursday, but that's the virtual office hour happening on Bevy. And I still need to confirm who will be on that call, but yeah, that will just be basically a virtual Q&A. And yeah, and then I think Scott was going to talk about the maintainer track talk after. So yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Karen. And well, I don't really have a lot to say except that we need to work on it. So the idea is in place. I am planning on working on it with whomever has the time. We're gonna hop on it. I know Andy and I talked about it briefly the other day, but some other things came up. We didn't get to it yet. I think the reason I'm mentioning it here is we'll also just update. We still need to do it, not to inspire nail biting, but more like it'll be good. We'll have something to talk about, right? But the focus of it is how people can get involved in Helm moving forward, and how there's a we're kind of at a not really a fork in the road, but at a well, maybe with Helm, we at the very least we discussed not until Helm 4, but we don't really have any plans specifically for Helm 4. That's really just to fulfill our policy. It may be that we never release Helm 4 and we only, that the project is primarily not a lot of active development after it's like, hey, here's the features that we all know and love, and we're supporting them, and we have some a little bit of continued improvement. The other is that we say, hey, we are actually doing Helm 4. Here's our ideas for a roadmap, and will you join us on that? And let's do this thing. It's not really clear what we want to say there, or if we can say one.
So I can probably say, I mean, our policy is, and our stuff, we need somebody who would be that architect to drive it. The release maintainer, I think is what we called it, who would actually drive it and put in the time on it. And it's got to be somebody who's an existing maintainer. They've got to understand the code base and the implications and all of that, and have the time to put into it. And right now, we don't have a maintainer interested in doing that, who's got some driver they can put in the time to make that happen, given everything else we all have going on. And so I would say, at least until KubeCon North America, our standing thing is, yeah, we're collecting ideas for it. And, we've got a policy around it, but we're not actively moving on Helm version 4. And that's just because we don't have anybody who's jumping at it out of the maintainers right now. So, I mean, that's just the reality. And we don't have a big driving need. All of our underlying needs are, well, we wish we had some code cleanup, or we wish we could do, undo some of these things we had to do for backwards compatibility. Oh, there's some features that we would like to have. We've got some ugly, hacky workarounds people can use. They kind of work. There isn't a major blocker either. So everything is really a big nice to have more than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And so either way, yeah, thanks, Matt. Exactly. And either way, the goal of this talk isn't really just to focus on that, but that's inevitably going to come up as we say, hey, either we're going to avoid it, or we're going to at least give people a bit of an update on what to look forward to, because that's the point of the talk, is what to look forward to in Helm, and how you can help moving forward. So.
Fantastic. That's great. So if you have a call to action, if you want people to start contributing to notes, if you have a doc, or if you have a Google Slides presentation you're working on, please put a link in the notes so that people can help with that. Okay.
The answer is to be created this week.
Well, sure, of course. But I'm saying when you have it, if you want input, by all means.
Thank you.
Okay. Gilliam, you have something about the Helm survey. The floor is yours.
Yes. So I just I mixed up the dates, and initially I thought KubeCon was next week, but I just wanted to ask because I think we said that we need to get all of our edits in by today or tomorrow. So I just wanted to ask if everyone's been able to take a look, or just remind everyone to take a look and give feedback.
Okay, and I'm just clicking on it now to see. Excellent. This is a Google form. You want people to give feedback where exactly?
Oh yeah, I can get a document going and add it in the notes.
Perfect. Thank
So-
you.
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure
just
the
know.
best. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Karen.
I'm not sure what the best way to like comment on it is because it's a form. Like there's no like way to
Right.
comment.
That's what I was. Yeah, I think she said she would make a secondary document that we could write comments in. Do I understand
Okay.
that correctly?
Yeah, because we definitely need to cut it. It's pretty long. Maybe we can just like copy the questions over and then like just the question without the answers and then have people comment on that question with whatever thoughts they might have.
Okay. So you just want me to add the questions in the new doc, and is that what we discussed?
Yeah, just so we can reference which
Okay.
question we're commenting about.
Okay, sounds good. I'll do that, and I'll add it in and link it in the notes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, awesome. It looks like we might have another topic coming in. And meanwhile, I want to remind everyone that we have a need for moderator notes and issue triage for next week. And I will be out next week, so I will not be around at all. I will not be logging in at all next week. And then I'll see everyone at KubeCon. So yeah, if we can get moderator notes and issue triage, let's talk about that in the chat while Chris discusses this pull request. Hi, Chris.
Hi. So I work for a company called Wind River, and we've been doing some work with FluxCD and ran into a bug that it turns out has been tied back to an issue in Helm that's been open for over a year now. And somebody named Sean Egan had posted a pull request back in 2020, and there was some activity on it. It's pull request 8671. And there was some activity on it, and then it kind of went stale and nobody was responding to it. And so he basically got tired of it and gave up. And so I have reopened it and refreshed it and made it compatible with the current version, and sent in a pull request about a month ago and have gotten crickets. And so I'm just wondering, is this a case where there's just nobody doing active development on this anymore, or did I miss something in the procedures?
I don't think you missed anything. It's just there are a lot of open pull requests and trying to get to them as best as possible. Thanks for joining and bringing it up.
Okay, is this something that is plausibly going to eventually merge, or is there technical reasons why this would not be the right way to go?
I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
And Chris, apologies for it taking a long amount of time. You can probably imagine that if you have a few people who
Yeah,
can
no, I get
review
it
things
completely.
and you
I
have hundreds
understand
of
how
people
these
who
things
want
go. I've
things.
been doing open source for a while, so.
In an ideal world, we would definitely have the community members available with bandwidth to review pull requests.
Yeah, no worries.
Like say, for example, yourself someday, perhaps, once this one gets in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There was one open question, I think, from the 8671 PR
Right.
that Matt Fisher asked about tests. Sean gave a quick response, but there was really not a follow-up there. Do you have any thoughts on, since we can't really ask him right now, do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, I'm just taking a look here. So sorry, I must be missing it. What was the question about?
It was about it. This was this was a while ago. This was in the old PR. Here, I'll paste.
Right.
That Matt Fisher asked about, like.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, I just saw the alias. I didn't realize what his name was.
Okay. Oh, right.
Right. So are there existing tests for the weight logic? So Sean's original response was that there weren't any existing tests for that area of the code, I think.
So there probably aren't any existing tests for the code because we don't spin up a full Kubernetes and then test long form things against it. If you go look at our CI testing, it just does not do that today.
Right.
So it's not like we can sit there and then wait to see if this actually comes up in that kind of capacity. Our testing would be different from that. And I haven't thought through what weight would look like here, but
Right.
that is one of those things that would be good to have tested. It's probably one of the few places we don't have good test coverage in our code. As far as it goes, our tests, our code should be the case where, I want to get this right. Let me get it right. Where is it?
Oh, also, by the way,
Where-
just while Matt's looking. Oh, no, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say weight should look that any pods, PVCs, services are up. Pods when they're standalone, and the minimum number of pods on a deployment, stateful set, replica set are ready before marking the release as successful.
Yeah.
That's what it should do. And if it's not doing that today, that means it's a bug, which is something we're happy to have in because that's the situation we want to turn it into.
Yeah, the issue is that the max unavailable value, and so it's subtracting that from the amount of replicas that need to be ready. And so if you only have one replica, then it waits for 0 pods to be ready, and so it goes ready immediately.
Then that would be considered a bug, which is something we're very happy to solve for.
Yeah. And so this leads to an open issue in FlexCD that's been sitting there for like a year because they're waiting for Helm to fix it. And then we ran into it when we were trying to do FlexCD. And so this is where I started trying to bottom out what the heck was going on. So
yeah, I've gone ahead and unwound that. I don't think we'll be able to get this into with some of the other things we've got to review and get in for Monday's release candidate. I don't expect to get it into that release.
yeah.
What I'm going to do right now, and not even put a date on it, is on the fly, I'm creating the 3.9.1 milestone, because once something gets into a milestone, we are much more likely to do something about it. And actually coming on these calls and bugging us.
Well, that's what I figured.
It works. It's a
Figured
good
I'd come and
idea.
poke people.
Go poke people. It's what you should do. I have gone ahead and added the issue or the pull request and the issue to that milestone. And this is actually a bug, not a feature. So
Yeah, I just added the bug label
okay.
too. Just thanks,
perfect.
Matt.
So
Thank
we
you.
are good on those. They're in the milestone. So as we go work on 3.9.1, we'll be looking at it and you'll get
Okay.
feedback.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you for showing up. And it is really valuable. I know it kind of feels weird to have to come talk to people about computers, but like, as you can imagine, having your input and your thoughts on it helps us move it forward. So
Sure.
it's really important. Thank you.
And I also want to say I quite like that sweatshirt. I haven't worn a Helion thing in several years, but I used to work on Helion, so I noticed it right away.
I got this at an old OpenStack conference. So
I used to work at HP and on Helion, so
yeah,
caught my attention.
All right, fantastic. Okay, do we have anything else that we want to make sure we chat about before we close out this meeting? think that we're probably good. I know we have a moderator and notes volunteers for next week. I will not be here next week. We do, we'll reach out to the maintainers about issue triage for the next week. But other than that, for those of us who are here next week, awesome. See you next week. For those of us who are not here next week, remember this call isn't happening the following week because of KubeCon EU. So maybe we'll see some of you there. All right. Thanks, folks.
Bye.